really harmful effects in terms of burnout, secondary trauma, compassion fatigue, like we're hearing. And that's another reason why I thought it would be really important to talk about this topic, because I know that a lot of the people that watch my videos are new to the field, are studying to become LCSWs. And so these are really important things to keep in mind. And I think that these topics can sometimes get overlooked. Hello, and welcome back to my channel, Mental Health with Melissa. I'm Melissa. If you're new here, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button before we get started. Subscribing to my channel really helps me get mental health information out there to our communities of color, and also information out there to those that are interested in the mental health professions. As of late, I've been doing a lot more LCSW test prep videos, so I'm taking a small break from those videos. I will return back to those videos right after this video for this week because I wanted to do something a little bit different. If you're new here, I am a licensed clinical therapist. In particular, I am an LCSW. I am a clinical supervisor, and I'm also a PhD psychology research student. So for those that have been following me, you probably haven't seen me in a while because, like I said, a lot of my new videos are centered around LCSW test prep. So a lot of it is just the screen recordings and you're just hearing my voice. So it's really nice to see you. I haven't really done a lot of the talking to the camera videos in a while. So I just wanted to kind of throw something out there because there's been a really major life change for me in that I am quitting my job.
I quit. I quit. I quit. I quit.
So that's probably why you clicked on this video, because I'm sure if you were looking for LCSW test prep, that was not in the thumbnail. So that's not what you're gonna get in this video. I'm not gonna go into the details about it, but one of the reasons is because I was able to get another job and I got a promotion of some sorts. And so I'm really excited about that. But thinking about my venture in that capacity also made me think a lot about the field of social work and mental health, and how as social workers and mental health providers, we don't really talk about workplace burnout or compassion fatigue to the extent that I think that we really should. And so today, this video is really going to focus on that and what we can do to make it more workplace acceptable, or to make it less stigmatized, to really talk about our mental health in the workplace and as it relates to social work and the mental health and behavioral health field. So if that's something that you're interested, please continue watching. Okay, so as I mentioned before, I am a psychology PhD research student. So a lot of my videos before I did more of the LCSW test prep were on mental health related topics, but I do like to bring up these topics based on some of the scholarly evidence and the literature that's already out there. And so this video is no different. And so I'm going to be referencing some of my notes. So that's what you're going to see me doing when I'm looking down here. I think I would be remiss if I did not bring in research and literature evidence based information that I found. I think that, as much as this is an opinion piece type of video, I think it's also important to speak from a background of research base and information, because that's how we're able to really apply it to what we're going through, right? Is where the evidence is. So I wanted to talk about this one article entitled Social Work, Stress and Burnout, a Review, and it's by the authors Chris Lloyd, Robert King, and Leslie Chenoweth, and it's from 2009. And I'm going to link the reference in the description box down below so that you can take a look at it and read it if you're interested. So basically, what they found is that stress and burnout for healthcare professionals has received increasing attention in the literature. So this article reviewed the social work literature with two questions in mind. Are social workers subject to greater stress than other health professionals? What factors contribute to stress and burnout among social workers? And what they found was that most of the literature was either anecdotal or compared social work stress with general population norms, rather than with stress of workers in comparable professions. And then empirical research, as is available, suggests that social workers may experience higher levels of stress and resulting burnout than comparable occupational groups. So what this tells us is pretty profound. And those of you that are already in the social work professions or the behavioral health professions may be like, okay, well, this is information that I already knew. But what this does is it goes a step further and kind of lets our audience, when I say audience, those that are reading this information, know that there is evidence that shows that there is higher levels of stress that result in burnout than other occupational groups. Factors identified as contributing to stress and burnout included the nature of social work practice, especially tension between philosophy and work demands and the organization of the work environment. There is some evidence that supervision and team support are protective factors. So what I want to do now is I want to go into a little bit more of the definitions of compassion fatigue and burnout. In this article that I am referencing, they also define compassion fatigue and burnout. So they define compassion fatigue as the cost of caring, so to speak, and that's in quotes. The ones who suffer from compassion fatigue start seeing deeply negative changes in their personal and professional lives. They might become distressed and very complacent in their work, or they might contribute to a toxic work environment. So in addition to the compassion fatigue and burnout findings from this article, another thing that they actually talk about is most social work graduates, even though they will not work in crisis intervention centers, specialize in violence and mental health issues, and will frequently meet with people who present with symptoms of traumatic stress or adaptation or behavior or addictions. And as a result, the training and the specific work skills that are included in these types of things, especially when they're working with traumatized persons, this can make it challenging for students to take care of themselves if they don't have the appropriate tools. So this is a really important finding in this particular article in this literature review, because what they're saying is that if a social work grad or somebody new to the behavioral and mental health field is working and doesn't have the appropriate clinical supervision, this can really lead to really harmful effects in terms of burnout, secondary trauma, compassion fatigue, like we're hearing. And that's another reason why I thought it would be really important to talk about this topic, because I know that a lot of the people that watch my videos are new to the field, are studying to become LCSWs. And so these are really important things to keep in mind. And I think that these topics can sometimes get overlooked. And in fact, the social work field is so broad, and you can really work in so many different areas if you're a social worker, considering again that the field is really such a broad field to work in. You can do therapy, you can do homeless outreach, you can work with children and families, you can work with community organization. And I'll leave down my video below on macro, mezzo, and micro professions, because that's pretty helpful to learn about if you're still unsure what type of social work you want to do. But something that I've kind of also discovered in my social work career is that it is okay to move around within your profession. And if you work for a large organization, for example, if you have the capability to move from one position to another, then that's certainly a really good way to navigate your profession and really utilize your social work skills and maximize that so that you can have experience in different types of positions. So in getting back to the article, what the article and the research found was that they really recommended building a solid base for the practice of social work. And to do that, it requires the creation of a conceptual and political frame for self-care among supervisors, students, and teachers. So what they're recommending is that students meet with their clinical supervisors, and clinical supervisors provide that supervision and that compassion towards your students and towards those that are new in the field, because it really makes all the difference. When I first got into the field of social work, I did not have a clinical supervisor. And in my first job, so that whole year, I worked without a clinical supervisor. I think it was actually 2 years that I went without a clinical supervisor. So I didn't even collect the hours when I certainly could have, but my job at the time did not provide me a clinical supervisor. And then when I started at another organization, I was able to get a clinical supervisor, and just based on my experience in my first job and not having a clinical supervisor to having another job and having a clinical supervisor, it really made a huge difference. I couldn't believe it because I was able to have that support. I was able to have a mentor, and when personal things were coming up for me in my work, or if I felt like I was starting to feel maybe a little bit of compassion fatigue creep up on me, I had that person, that mentor there to debrief with and to provide clinical supervision services to me. So it's so important. I can't express that enough. Now that I'm a clinical supervisor and these are things that, come up for everybody, I see how important it is really at the end of the day. So having said all that, I hope that this video was helpful. So the reason why I wanted to do this video is just to really share that the social work and behavioral health and mental health professions can sometimes come with some challenges. Just like it can be such a rewarding profession, there's also a side to it that can have, its barriers. And so I wanted to create this video to really share that you don't have to feel stuck. There are different avenues and ways to manage compassion fatigue, burnout, stress in your profession, and that can include clinical supervision, it can include self-care activities, but also it can mean leaving your job if you need to and finding another position in which you don't have to quit your field altogether, but you can really see what other options there are out there for you so you don't have to feel stuck. I really enjoyed talking to the camera again for the first time in a long time, but my next video will be going back to LCSW test prep, as I really enjoy doing those videos, and I know that a lot of you come to this channel specifically for those videos. So please let me know in the comment section below if there's any other video suggestions that you may have. I really enjoy creating these videos for you, and if there's any other questions in general that come up, please again leave them below. Till next time, managing mental health matters.